A second stage win for Jonas Vingegaard, a fourth for Jumbo-Visma, and an intriguing congratulations there from Sepp Kuss, who still leads this race from his teammate. There's been a switcheroo in second and third and a lot of scratching of heads as to what on earth that was all about, Dan.
Yeah, I'm going to be scratching my head for quite some... certainly until the end of our breakaway show. Yeah, bizarre. Like, not what Vingegaard did. You know, Jumbo-Visma are now in an even stronger position than they were. They're still 1, 2, 3. Vingegaard is even closer to the lead, which means he's put more time into all of their rivals. I just do not understand what their rivals would do. I know they've got 3 riders to watch, which is almost an impossibility when they're that good. But you've got Finn Fisher-Black, second place on the day. He could have been helping behind to limit the gap to Jonas Vingegaard for Juan Ayuso, who's in 4th place overall in this race. I mean, I know it's a long shot to finish on any step of the podium, given their dominance, given the class of riders Jumbo-Visma have 1, 2, 3. But you've got to try. You've got to try. We don't know if one of those 3 is going to have a bad day, and Ayuso could finish 3rd or 2nd in this race still. I'm not quite sure what was going on in terms of the complete lack of cooperation behind. You don't just let Jonas Vingegaard, Tour de France winner, sail up the road.
I'm going to get to that in a moment, but I'm intrigued, Adam, what you think of Jumbo-Visma, because Dan seems to think it makes perfect sense. I still don't get it. I don't understand why Jonas Vingegaard was riding so hard with his teammate in the red jersey, and he was still pushing for those seconds across the line as if he was hoping to ride into red. Is that what he was trying to do?
No, he was riding for Nathan van Hooijdonk, I think. I think ultimately today they took control quite early on. They brought that breakaway back. And from my knowledge of Jonas Vingegaard is that Nathan looked after him in the Tour. So you always have that one guy like Luke Rowe is to Geraint Thomas, where he stays with him constantly. If he stops for a wee, he stops with him. If he needs to move up, he moves with him. So he'll have spent 2, 3 Grand Tours with him, close to him, knowing what he wants to do. So I think that is very much Jonas going, sort of, I love you, mate. I'm going to do this for you. And you could see his emotion after the line. He was very upset. So, yes, riding all the way to the line, but when you're that determined for someone, you've got a finish line where you can then breathe after it and sort of release that emotion out of his body. So I think for him, forget the GC, forget the race for Jonas today, because that was just, I'm going to go out, ride hard, I'm going to smash it for my friend who I love dearly, to do as much as he can for him. And I think he did that, and, yeah, you can't fault him for it.
We should explain for anyone who isn't aware as yet, the Jumbo-Visma rider Nathan van Hooijdonk has been involved in a car accident. We understand it is quite serious. He is in hospital. He was with his pregnant partner at the time. She's been checked out in hospital as well and seems to be OK, but we don't have updates as yet from Jumbo-Visma on the current state of Nathan van Hooijdonk. So they'll all have been riding with that very much in the forefront of their heads today, Dan, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and you could see that right from the moment a breakaway finally established itself. They rode on the front. They clearly wanted to win the stage of one of their rides. And I didn't know what Adam just said, that he'd been so close to him as a lieutenant during the Tour de France for the last couple of years. But I don't think that even, however determined Jonas was to win today's stage and to dedicate it to Van Hooijdonk, there's no way they could have envisaged that there'd be such cat and mouse behind.
Yeah, I mean, that was bonkers.
And that he'd get close to the red jersey. I mean, I'd imagine what they thought would happen would be that Jonas would go, it would spark attacks from behind, then maybe a chase if they couldn't catch him. The rivals would want to limit their losses to a Tour de France champion, and he might come and take the stage win by a handful of seconds. But there was so much looking at each other behind and just nothing going on. I mean, without wanting to do a disservice to some of the riders who did go on the attack behind.
Here we go.
But
look at the names that end up going out the road. You know, Wout Poels, Finn Fisher-Black, Bauke Mollema, who I've forgotten was even in the race until the start of today. Like, he's been anonymous. So if you see those guys going on the attack and everyone else is still just behind, you know the pace is just not there. And so, again, I know it's almost impossible to beat Jumbo-Visma, but you have to believe, and you have to ride in a way that gives you the best possible hope.
I think with this as well is that this is the Mollema attack there, and he's just going because he's there, he's having a go, he wants to get a few places on the podium. But what baffles me, and I think this might be the reason for it, is that UAE have got a guy up the road, so they're like, this is good because he's up the road. They don't quite know where Finn Fisher-Black is because he can't see him in terms of where he is against Jonas. As much as I hate to say it, this modern generation are not really astute to bike riding. The tactics, all that stuff comes with it, but there's a lot of instruction of what to do. So it's kind of you know, you can chase that, you can not chase that. So it looks to be that they're waiting for instruction from the team car to be like, you need to go, rather than just thinking, OK, yeah, I definitely need to go. It's like, this is ridiculous. There's a guy riding away. He's got a teammate up the road who's nowhere on GC, so politely, sod him, let's catch him and get some seconds back. It's just really...
It wasn't even like none of those riders had teammates behind. I could sort of understand it a little bit more if it was a Tourmalet situation. You know, Mas is getting frustrated because Kuss is following him. Ayuso is getting frustrated because Roglic is following... You know, that's a different scenario. The size of that group then, you know, we had riders from Bahrain victorious, like I said, we had a rider from UAE who'd gone up the road.
Up the road as well, Dan.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You're a man.
You still then had numbers behind to help Mikel Landa. I don't know, I can't get my head around what was going on in that group behind.